Hello guys, welcome back. And in this lesson, I want us to learn about conditional rendering, and that is basically, rendering the elements or the, let me say, the tags that you have on your HTML page based on certain condition. So I want us to see that on view. It's quite simple, quite straightforward, quite easy. And without further ado, let us dive in and see. So here, so what I'm going to do is that we can just start with our guy here, this paragraph that we have here. So I'm going to delete these classes. We don't need them here for now. All right. I'm going to delete all of these. Just delete this. And also I'm going to delete here, and I'm just going to leave error. So very simple. If there is error, I can use a if to check if there is error. So this element will only render on the DOM if this is error is true. Otherwise, it will not render. So that is what the if does. It will only render that element based on the condition that you have passed here. If this value is true, it will render. Otherwise, it will not render. So if I go here, 5173. So as you can see now, we have the paragraph, it renders here. But if I go back and say this should be false, maybe, if I say this is false, if I go back to the browser, this will not render, as you can see. So, and again, this, if there's error, render that, else I can use an else here and say, and now else you don't need to pass any condition here. So if error is true, render the first one, otherwise it will render the second one. So in this case, we can just change the text here just to illustrate this. This is the second paragraph like this. If I go to the browser now, as you can see now, it renders the VLs or the else part. That is because the VIF part is not true. So if I go back here, I can also use the V else if. So this will take a condition. So I can say I can have maybe let us say maybe we can have a ref, and this can be a string. You can say a, and then for example we can say, let's say type, like that. Let us use type, it makes more sense. So the else if type is equivalent of maybe a, we can render the first guy. If type, let me just copy this, I'm too lazy, so let me just paste this here. If it is an equivalent of B, we render the second guy. Let's put until we have C, we have D, and let us put also E. And lastly, we can use an else statement here to say if none of this condition is is satisfied, then we can render the VFs. So we can say this is the else, this is the else statement, this is the E paragraph, this is the D paragraph, this is the C, this is the B. And so for now we have A, so we expect the first guy to render, the one that has lorem ipsum like this. If I go back, I change this to maybe B, I save this, I go back. You see this is the B paragraph. If I change this to C, if I go back here, you can see this is the C paragraph. And lastly, if I pass something that is not on the on the option, something like maybe 7, if I go here, this will render the else statement, which say this is the second else statement, and which is our last statement here. So this is how you can be able to use the if to render statements or your elements conditionally. So the last thing that I want you to show is that you can also render these templates conditionally. So let us say we have our first template here. We can also have our second template here. And for the second template, I can simply have a statement here like this and say this is This is, what am I doing? This is the second template like this. And then I can render this now conditionally. I can just say, okay, let me just delete all of this and say this is the first template like this. I'll remove this if statement now here, and I'll go here and say the if let's say template one, and this will be maybe, let us say the else, like that. So I'll scroll up, I'll copy this here, I'll paste this here. I'll say this is maybe, let us say true for now. That will render the first template. So if I go back to the browser, all right, seem to have an error. I guess I know where the error is coming from, and that is because we need to have a single template inside here. So I'm just going to, I think that was a stupid mistake. So I need to move this inside here. And then what I can do is instead cut this and paste here. So this is used to render, a group of elements that you have, that you want to render conditionally. Instead of putting the conditional element into one element, you can just use this template, and then you can pass all your elements inside here. So if this is true, we'll see both of this statement. This is first template and this is the second template. Let us see if this will work. Okay, this is the first template. Why is it not rendering the second template? And that is because I'm using this if here. That is okay. I think I done a mistake here. So if I only want to render the values that are in this, or the elements that are in this second template, I can use this if. So that is how you can be able to render a group of elements. You can bind them in a template and render them using the if. And guys, that is it with our condition rendering in our view. And let us meet in the next lesson.